I just want to do God's will.
The kind of revolution that the world needs is a Christian revolution.
If you want a miracle, you've got to expect it to happen.
You are the recipients of God's grace and God's blessings, and you rejoice in that reality.
Welcome to Life Today Live. I'm Randy Robinson. We're going to talk about something that is very important today and that is completely out of my wheelhouse, and that is finance, and not just like personal finance, but the power of investing and the power of money to do good. And here at Life Outreach International, we do a lot of work around the world to help the poor. I was in South Sudan earlier this year and talking with Isaac Pretorius, our mission partner there, and trying to understand some of the finances behind the 350,000 children that we feed every day across Africa. And it's a little complex, but it's amazing the power, because the finances that Life Outreach International provides actually are multiplied by the power of the finances, not just the dollars themselves, but what those dollars help to bring in addition to the dollars spent. So there's a whole compounding effect that happens when we, as Christians especially, use our finances for good. Well, there's a new book that talks about a lot of that, and actually how you can be a part of that. The book is called The Good Investor. It's available now wherever you get books, and it's written by Robin C. John. And Robin has an amazing story. He's the co-founder and CEO of an organization called Eventide Asset Management. He manages a lot of money, and he doesn't just manage it to pad the bank accounts of investors. He manages these funds to do good things. So we're going to learn a bit today. I'm going to learn. I invite you to learn alongside of me. Robin, welcome to Life Today Live. Great to have you on the program today.
Thank you so much, Randy, for having me.
So help me out with my explanation here, because this, like I said, this is an area that is fascinating to me, but one that I'm really not that good of. So explain to me exactly what Eventide does and why you do what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I thought your explanation was really good.
Okay, good.
So for everyone who is hacking at the branches of evil, there are a few people that I think are really addressing the root of the problem. And just to give an example, when you look at the homeless population in America, we could give money to the homeless, or we could try to find out what is causing homelessness. And one of the issues, reasons for homelessness, is schizophrenia. So one of the companies that we're investing in at Eventide is seeking to bring treatments for schizophrenia. The same treatment also helps Alzheimer's and dementia and other central nervous system issues. So Eventide, to answer your question, our tagline, I believe, really explains what we're trying to do well. Our tagline is investing that makes the world rejoice. The Bible says in Proverbs, when the righteous prosper, the city rejoices. And when the wicked prosper, the people groan. The Bible also says in Proverbs that when the righteous prosper, the city rejoices. And when the wicked are defeated, there are shouts of joy. Why is that? It's because the righteous are people that prosper by uplifting their communities, the society, whereas the wicked are people that often prosper through exploitation. So when the wicked prosper, the people groan under the weight of that suffering.
Yeah. It's interesting because wherever we go, and it's true, in most cases here in America, but definitely when you get overseas in the work that we do, yes, there are problems of clean drinking water. There are problems of food, just accessing food, and then when we work to help free children, mainly girls, from sex trafficking, it's real obvious. But the root problem is corruption. It's human corruption everywhere you go. And even if it isn't the cause, if you've got like a natural disaster, a flood, or a famine, it's exacerbated because of the corruption in the system. And so yes, a lot of times it is a little bit of a Band-Aid because you're meeting an immediate emergency need. But if you dig down deeper, there is a human problem that is a spiritual problem in most cases. And that can be tough. How do you get past, I know here in the States, we think, okay, we can throw more money at this, but we've thrown more money at these systems and it doesn't improve. And I think that gets to the corruption problem in a lot of cases. How do you get to the root causes when you're trying to deal with things like that? I understand it in the schizophrenia case, but it's not always easy.
Yeah, often we are throwing money at problems that are caused by bad business at the end of the day. So something like pornography leads to so much suffering and addiction and exploitation for the customer, for the employee. You could take tobacco. All the children in the world in developing countries like Papua New Guinea and Indonesia that are addicted to cigarettes. And we have publicly traded companies here in America like Philip Morris International, Altria Group, British American Tobacco, and many others that are promoting tobacco. So bad business leads to a lot of the suffering and exploitation in the world. Yeah. A recent problem that we could talk about maybe is online gambling. Yeah. Companies like DraftKings, publicly traded. The amount of suicide rates, divorce rates, bankruptcy rates are going up. And we as Christians are profiting from it unknowingly because it's in a portfolio that somebody else might be managing for us, a financial advisor. And so the question is, in the book I talk about the Godfather and the mafia wife. The question is, if the Godfather is giving money away to their local community center, does that offset all the harm the Godfather might be doing through their business dealings? I don't think it does. I think if we really could allocate capital and support good businesses and starve the bad businesses from capital, that's going to do more than trying to treat the effects of the sin that happens after.
Yeah. How do you actually do that? Because this is something that you actually do. How do you do it, and how can the average Christian help?
Yeah, at Eventide, we have an avoid, embrace, engage framework. And, really, again, there's a long story I explain in the book on, we started with fasting and prayer. I was fired from a job and praying that God would call me into ministry. And ultimately, I found that God was calling me back into finance. And initially, when I was praying with Finney, the co-founder of Eventide, we were looking at verses from like Proverbs 1. It talks about avoiding ill-gotten gain, not sharing a purse with people that plunder. So we said, okay, what are all the areas of ill-gotten gain in the marketplace that we want to avoid investing in? And we made a whole list of it. I mentioned a few earlier, but you could talk about things like abortion, alcohol, I think I talked about tobacco, weaponry, just things that are causing harm in the world. And then right then, a person named Tim came into our church. This was a very small church, a house church, that Finney and I were, leading together at Finney's house. And Tim comes in, overhears that Finney and Robin are starting a Christian mutual fund. And Tim said, I know what it means to be a Christian. I know what a mutual fund is. Put that together for me. And we talked about avoiding ill-gotten gain. And Tim said, it's great. Christians should avoid ill-gotten gain. But if investing is the allocation of capital, why are you only asking the question where you're not allocating capital? Where should Christians invest?
Right, great question.
I think that was the most important question asked in our history at Eventide. And, Romans 12 talks about, it says, let your love be without hypocrisy, hate what is evil, but cling to what is good. So we have to do both as Christians, hate what is evil, abhor what is evil, and cling to what is good. And when we do that within an investment framework, I think we could really start allocating capital to the companies that are doing good in the world.
How has that worked out for you?
It's been good. It's been good. So I am limited in what I could say about our performance just because of the industry that I operate within.
Yeah.
And because this is a public podcast. But I would encourage anybody to look at our website, go to morningstar.com or Yahoo Finance, put in our ticker symbols and compare us against the benchmarks. Ultimately, I do believe that God's principles are good for not just the next life, but also this life. I know Bible talks about that all over the Bible. But he will be like a tree rooted by streams of water, whose leaves do not wither. And, I do believe that following God's commandments are good for us in this life. Yes, there are times where we avoid making a lot of money. There are times when tobacco does very well. There are times when pornography does very well.
Yeah.
DraftKings is doing very well as a company.
Yeah.
But the question is, when we don't invest in that company, can that same capital be used to invest in another company that's doing good in the world and also doing good for returns for the shareholder?
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do is not to lose money for shareholders,
Right.
but to move that money into something that's doing well for the shareholder, for the investor, and also for the world.
What is your ticker symbol?
We have actually about 12.
Oh, okay. So if someone's looking, though, is there a single one that would stand out that would get them in the right place?
Yeah, our flagship fund is called the Eventide Gilead Fund.
Okay.
And ETGLX would be the ticker symbol for that.
Okay. For those of you who know what that means, there you go. And by the way, this is the website. This, if you want to go look at them, the Eventide Investments. We're talking about the book, but eventideinvestments.com looks like this, so you'll know you're in the right place if you look that one up. All right, I want to shift a little bit because your personal story is fascinating. Your life journey, but also your Christian journey. You're in Boston now. You didn't start there. Give us a little background about yourself, because I think your testimony alone, we could just discuss that without the finance, and it would be very, very interesting. But tell people how did you get where you're at?
I was born in southern India, state called Kerala. And Kerala is, the Christian state in India.
Okay.
India has about 2 or 3% Christianity. Kerala has about 40%. So I have first cousins who are missionaries in northern India. I grew up in a very Christian household. My grandfather was a church planter. And in the book, I talk about how, they suffered a lot. And by the time I was born, I didn't face starvation, but I still saw, the impacts of their life. And, growing up, the electricity will go out of the house around 6, 7 p.m. And so at nighttime, there's no light, no fan. And we would sing songs, we would pray, we would hear Bible stories from our grandparents. And at nighttime, my brother and I slept in the same bed with my grandfather. And my grandmother slept on a bed right next to us. And at nighttime, there's cockroaches, there's spiders. There are these things that are, coconut beetles, they come in through the window. I would go under the bed, to put my face against the concrete floor because it's so hot in the house. Southern India is right by the equator. And there was no bathroom inside the house. We had an outhouse. And my dad worked in the Middle East, and sent money back to India. So I saw him once a year. So very different life. And when I was 8, we moved to the U.S. And my dad's older brother was a minister here at Tremont Temple Baptist Church. So we moved to the U.S. We applied for a visa to come to America before I was born. And even back in the 80s, the process was very, very long.
Yeah.
And I was 8 when we made it here.
How'd you get into the investment? I mean, because that's coming from poverty and being an immigrant to the United States is hard. That is not your normal path for success. How did you get to where you're managing millions of dollars?
I would say, God provided, and, it's been an answer to prayer. My mom was a nursing aide when we came here, and my dad was a mental health aide, which is pretty much a a security guard at a mental hospital, and I didn't know anything about investing or finance. When I got into Tufts University, I tried to follow a degree in economics, and I remember my college roommate. His parents gave him money to trade, and I'm like, "What is this? What is the stock market? I have no idea."
Right.
And I'm taking a degree in economics, and I have no idea what the stock market is. And my roommate got all sorts of good internships, and I had no connections. I didn't know how to get an internship.
Yeah.
So I had a job at Sears selling shoes, and then I got a job selling knives door to door.
Yeah.
And then I got a job cleaning trucks at U-Haul, and ultimately I got a temp job through a temp agency at BNY Mellon, and that's how I break into the finance sector.
Wow.
And it was a back office job, and income collections, doing a lot of processing work. That's how I got into the industry, and through that job, I had an opportunity to go to India and spend some time there, and that's how I saw some of the things I just wasn't happy with, how they were treating the cook and the guest housekeeper, not even giving them a bed to sleep on, and that really bothered me. That led me to leaving the job and ultimately taking another job that I got fired from within a month or two. That led me to the prayer and praying that God would just call me out of finance altogether and that he would call me into ministry. At that time, I had a sacred secular mindset. And I thought that to honor God meant I had to be a pastor. I was reading through Romans 12. It talks about not conforming to the patterns of the world, but renewing your minds so that you may test and approve God's good, pleasing, and perfect will. I needed a renewing of my mind. And God showed me that I can honor God in my everyday work, even in the field of investing. And as I look back, part of what I want to do in the book is to encourage people like my mom. I think sometimes the world could look down on jobs like the nursing aide job. And yet I think God values it because she's loving, or she used to be loving the elderly every single day when she was bathing them and caring for them.
Yeah.
I believe that any work that leads to human flourishing and love of neighbor is honoring to God.
You're so right. I love hearing you say that because as someone who is in full-time ministry, and I haven't always been, I've worked in secular outside Fortune 500 companies, but people say it from time to time, I wish I could be in full-time ministry. And I'm like, you are, wherever you're at, whether you're a nurse or you're an investment banker, you actually, you're called to be in full-time ministry. It just doesn't look the same. I get to go and talk about Bible stuff every day online, and it's different. But the point is that you're God's expression to people right where you're at, and you've done that. Okay.
Yes.
So
the Bible is so clear. I was recently speaking from Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. It says basically that we are God's handiwork and created in Christ Jesus to do good works.
That's right.
Yeah, and again, that passage is about how we are saved by grace, not our works, but we are created for good works.
Yep.
And we see that throughout the Bible. Psalm 8, David talks about it, and it really comes from Genesis 1:26.
Yeah, and he's not talking to the pastors there. He's talking to everybody. You're all created for good works. I love it. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
I want to show people, this is actually the website. It has the book right there, goodinvestor.com. Again, a book that's available today, and I want to. So back on the investment front, people like me that don't really understand finances. I mean, they say here's your 401k or whatever investment thing, and I have no idea what's in it. Of course, the ministry, I trust that we're doing a little bit what you're doing, but I know when I was working for the Fortune 500 company, you just take what they offer you, and if DraftKings is in it, DraftKings is in it. I don't know. How does the average person take control of what they're going to feel like is very little wealth, but it's wealth, and when combined with thousands of other people, it becomes very powerful. How do they take control of that to be a good investor themselves?
This is a very good question, and it's been a struggle, for the average person. And a lot of the average people listening who are not in finance they probably might have a financial advisor, and they might be working with a Christian financial advisor, assuming the Christian financial advisor is reflecting their biblical values into their investing. And often when we look at the holdings, that's not the case. So what Eventide we just did, along with the launch of the book, on goodinvestor.com, there is a screening tool that we built. So you could put in the ticker symbols of the funds, the ETFs, the mutual funds that you're investing in, right into the Good Investor website, and we will give you a snapshot of what you're investing in. And then you could have that conversation with your financial advisor to make the changes you want to make. And we also have a curriculum at Eventide for financial advisors that is a 9-hour curriculum. And on the same website, goodinvestor.com, we will have a find an advisor tool so that you could connect with a financial advisor that really does understand good investing.
Does that actually work? I mean, I ask this purely out of ignorance, but like if I look up, whatever I'm invested in, and I'm like, I don't want to invest in those companies, and I go to whoever manages the portfolio and say, I want to be out of this and in something that is doing good. I mean, does that actually work? Do we have options?
You have options.
Okay.
Much more now than you did 10 years ago. And, there are more and more faith-based solutions, not just at Eventide, but outside. And one of the things that we do with financial advisors, so if you have a financial advisor, please have them connect with us. We have a whole education process here, and we will connect them to other faith-based investment managers too. And we're also supporting some of these other faith-based investment managers and working alongside them. And they go through our curriculum as well. So we really want to help build a movement and not just a business at Eventide.
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like if Christians would actually do this, it would move the needle. It would make a difference.
Very much. And business is an engine of blessing. Business can also be an engine for harm. And I think most Christians don't have that view. They haven't understood it. I think most of us have a make all you can to give all you can mindset. But John Wesley said, make all you can to give all you can, but make all you can without hurting yourself or your neighbor in body or in soul. So we have to take both sides of that P&L statement, and we have to seek to honor God in how we make our money and then how we give away that money.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. All right. This is very interesting. The Good Investor is the book again, and goodinvestor.com is that website that will help you. Do you have any success stories in some of the, maybe, I don't know how much you can disclose as far as to what you're investing, but in generic terms, have you seen some good being done by investing in good companies?
Very much. And I get so excited talking about these companies. I'll give you one example. There was a company, even though we're a public mutual fund, and we mostly invest in the secondary market, which means that we're buying stocks from existing shareholders. At times, we're also able to put money directly into companies too. So we do a combination. And one of the companies that we invested directly into was a company that was a private company in biotech trying to treat Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So this is a problem that young boys, I think it's 1 out of every 30,000 young boys, have this problem where their muscles are breaking down. By the age of 5 or 6, they're generally in a wheelchair, and generally they don't live till the age of 20. And this company found a way to reverse the effects of Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and we saw children, young boys, getting out of wheelchairs and running up and down stairs.
Wow.
I remember watching some of those videos and just tears coming down our faces, knowing that we helped provide capital to this company, along with many other shareholders, but we were a small part of this company, right? So just to help that company accomplish their goals by bringing the capital to them, that's one example. I mentioned investing in schizophrenia recently. We're investing in a lot of oncology companies that are trying to bring cures to cancer. And so about 1/3 of all of our investing is in biotech. But even outside of biotech, we're investing in a trucking company as an example, that I believe is the best example of a trucking business. That company seeks to provide promotions for their dock workers so that their dock workers could become drivers, to really promote their people so that they could grow and make more income. For their drivers, they seek to have their drivers sleep in their own beds. So they've engineered their routing system and their logistics so that I think it's like 90% of their drivers sleep in their own beds every night with their own families, which is unheard of in the industry. Yeah. And yet they have like a 99% on-time delivery rates. So they're serving their customers well, they're serving their employees well, and they're serving the host communities well, because they've improved their trucks and put in autonomous driving and safety systems into their trucks so that there's less accidents on the road. They've made their trucks more environmentally friendly. So at Eventide, I didn't mention this earlier, but we have a love your neighbor approach to investing. And we look at 6 neighbors when we're investing. We look at customers, employees, supply chains, host communities, environment, society. We want to see that the companies we're investing in are creating value and loving all of these 6 neighbors, stakeholders, and not seeking to profit by exploiting them.
Yeah. Wow. That is very cool. You know, and I think a lot of Christians, they think about charity a lot, and obviously that's a big space that we're in. But there's power in the investing too, and I think we need to do both. You know, yes, consider charity, be responsible with it. But what you're talking about with the investing is a whole space that I don't. Are Christians really very good at this? Do you think? do we know
Christians are not? Not? Not even 2% of Christians, based on the research that we've done, are thinking about values. They do think about their values when it comes to their voting, when it comes to their charitable giving, but not when it comes to how they work, how they run their businesses, how they invest. And I think we have a huge opportunity to influence culture, even something as simple as the companies giving money to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
These are areas where Christians just can be engaging on as investors, and most Christians are not even thinking about it.
Well, I mean, that is both disappointing and also exciting in the opportunity, because it is a big opportunity. And I appreciate you educating us in this space and doing the work yourself, because, you know, a lot of us Christians, we don't think in those terms. We don't understand them. It seems above us. But you're encouraging us that we actually can make a difference. We can become, as the book title says, a good investor. Fascinating. Okay. I showed you the websites. You want to follow up there, you can do that. Last word to you, Robin. Appreciate your time. I love your insight. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
I will just say, just generally, I mentioned earlier that we are created to do good work. We are created in God's image, the Bible tells us in Genesis 1. And verse 26 says, so that we could steward his creation and rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air. Let us reflect God's goodness in our work each and every day. So I want to really encourage everyone, not just in our investing, but in our work, in our businesses, to love and honor God.
Absolutely. And you need a little help with that. Pick up the book. And you can also help by hitting the share button, especially if you know someone who is interested or involved in the finance sector, or at least in investing. Education, I think, awareness and education are the first steps, and this is great information. So if you're watching, listening out there, hit that share button. I would also invite you to subscribe, like, follow, depending on where you're listening, watching, to Life Today TV. We're trying to hit all these areas so that you can do good in the world. The book's available now wherever you get books. It's The Good Investor. Robin C. John, thank you for being with us. I appreciate the rest of you. We'll see you again next time here on Life Today Live.